My name is Emma. For years, I believed I had the perfect life. I lived in a beautiful apartment overlooking the skyline of Chicago. Every evening, the city lights sparkled outside our windows like tiny stars. I had a successful marketing career, wonderful friends, and most importantly, a husband I loved with all my heart. His name was Ryan. We met when I was 26. He was charming, confident, and funny in a way that made every room brighter. He knew exactly what to say whenever I doubted myself. He brought me coffee before work, sent me sweet messages during lunch, and held my hand whenever we crossed a busy street. When he proposed after 3 years together, I never hesitated. I said yes before he even finished the question. A year later, we were married. Looking back now, I sometimes wonder if the signs were always there. Maybe I simply didn't want to see them. The first 2 years of marriage were happy. We traveled. We laughed. We dreamed about buying a house and having children. Whenever we passed families in parks, Ryan would smile and say, "One day that'll be us." Those words made my heart melt every time. Then, after months of trying, I finally became pregnant. I still remember the morning. I stared at the pregnancy test in complete shock. 2 pink lines. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped it. When Ryan woke up, I ran into our bedroom crying. "Ryan," I whispered. He sat up immediately. "What happened?" I handed him the test. For a second, he stared at it. Then he smiled. At least, I thought it was a smile. He hugged me and said all the right things. "We're going to be parents." I believed he was happy. I truly did. But after that day, something changed. At first, it was small. Ryan started coming home later from work. Business meetings. Client dinners. Unexpected projects. He always had an explanation. And I always accepted it. Because that's what trust does. Trust fills the empty spaces where doubt tries to grow. As my belly grew larger, Ryan seemed to become more distant. When I talked about baby names, he barely listened. When I showed him tiny clothes I bought online, he nodded without looking. When I asked him to feel the baby kicking, he often claimed he was too tired. I told myself he was stressed. Many men get nervous before becoming fathers. That's what everyone said. My mother said it. My friends said it. Even my doctor said it. So I ignored the loneliness growing inside me. One evening, when I was 7 months pregnant, Ryan left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. I wasn't trying to snoop. I never had before. But a message appeared on the screen. A woman's name. Sophia. The message read, "I miss you already." My stomach tightened. I stared at those words. Maybe it was a coworker. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe. But then another message appeared. A red heart. Followed by, "I can't wait to see you tomorrow." Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. When Ryan returned, I asked calmly, "Who's Sophia?" For a split second, panic flashed across his face. Then it disappeared. A client. A client sends hearts? He laughed. Actually laughed. "Emma, you're pregnant. You're emotional. You're overthinking." I wanted to believe him. So I did. Because the alternative was too painful. Over the next few weeks, however, things became impossible to ignore. Late night calls. Hidden screens. Excuses. Distance. Silence. One night, I woke up around 2 in the morning. Ryan wasn't in bed. I found him standing on our balcony speaking softly on the phone. The moment he saw me, he ended the call. "Who was that?" I asked. "Work." At 2 in the morning? He walked past me without answering. That was the first time I cried myself to sleep beside him. By the 8th month of pregnancy, I felt more alone than ever. I attended birthing classes alone because Ryan was busy. I assembled a nursery mostly by myself. I folded baby clothes while wondering whether my marriage was already falling apart. Still, I held on to hope. I thought maybe once the baby arrived, everything would change. Maybe fatherhood would remind him of what mattered. Maybe our family would heal. I was wrong. One rainy Thursday afternoon, my world shattered completely. Ryan was in the shower again. His phone vibrated repeatedly. This time I picked it up. There were dozens of messages. Not from a client. Not from a coworker. From Sophia. Photos. Love notes. Plans for weekends together. Messages dating back nearly 6 months. 6 months. Almost my entire pregnancy. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Then I found one message. A message that broke me. Ryan had written, "I don't know if I even want this baby." I felt something inside me die. I sank onto the floor. The bathroom door opened. Ryan froze when he saw the phone in my hands. Neither of us spoke. The silence said everything. Finally, I whispered, "How long?" He looked away. That was my answer. "How long, Ryan?" 5 months. 5 months. I closed my eyes. Every late night. Every lie. Every fake smile. Every moment suddenly made sense. "I was carrying your child." His voice softened. "Emma." "No." Tears streamed down my face. "No." He reached toward me. I stepped back. "I needed you." "I'm sorry." Sorry. Such a small word. Too small for betrayal. Too small for heartbreak. Too small for destroying a family. For the next few weeks, we existed like strangers. Neither of us knew what came next. I considered leaving, but I was heavily pregnant. Exhausted. Scared. Heartbroken. And still hoping he might choose us. Then the day arrived. The day our daughter was born. I woke up before sunrise with intense pain. At first I thought it was another false alarm. But the contractions kept coming. Stronger. Closer, together. I shook Ryan awake. "It's time." He sat up immediately. For a moment, I saw fear in his eyes. Not for me. For himself. The drive to the hospital felt endless. Rain hammered the windshield. The city was still dark. My contractions became unbearable. When we arrived, nurses rushed me inside. Hours passed. Pain consumed everything. I screamed. I cried. I pushed. Between contractions, I searched for Ryan. Sometimes he was there. Sometimes he wasn't. Around noon, I noticed he seemed distracted. Constantly checking his phone. Walking into hallways. Sending messages. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Then suddenly, he disappeared. At first I assumed he had gone to get coffee. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. No Ryan. I asked a nurse. She hadn't seen him. My heart began sinking. I called him. No answer. Again. No answer. Again. Voicemail. I was in labor. Alone. Terrified. And my husband had vanished. An hour later, one of my closest friends, Olivia, arrived at the hospital after receiving my text. She found me crying. "Where's Ryan?" I shook my head. "I don't know." Olivia immediately began making calls. Then her expression changed. The color drained from her face. "What?" She hesitated. "Emma." "What?" She looked like she wanted to lie. Instead, she told me the truth. A mutual friend had seen Ryan. Across the city. At a restaurant. With Sophia. While I was giving birth. I thought I had already experienced the worst pain imaginable. I was wrong. No contraction compared to that moment. No physical wound could match it. While I fought to bring our child into the world, Ryan was having lunch with his girlfriend. The room spun around me. I couldn't stop crying. Olivia held my hand. You don't need him. But I did. Or at least I thought I did. I needed the man I married. The man who promised forever. The man who promised to stand beside me. Unfortunately, that man no longer existed. Maybe he never had. A nurse entered. It's time to push. I wiped my tears. And something changed inside me. I realized I was done waiting. Done begging. Done hoping. Done believing empty promises. If Ryan wasn't there, I would do it alone. For my daughter. For myself. For the woman I used to be. The next 2 hours were the hardest of my life. But I kept going. I pushed through the pain. Through the heartbreak. Through the betrayal. Through every shattered dream. Then finally, at 3:47 p.m., I heard the most beautiful sound in the world. A baby crying. My daughter. My precious daughter. The nurse placed her in my arms. She was tiny. Perfect. Beautiful. And suddenly everything else disappeared. The lies. The cheating. The abandonment. The pain. Nothing mattered except her. I looked into her little eyes and whispered, I'll always choose you. For the first time in months, I felt peace. An hour later, Ryan finally arrived. His shirt was wrinkled. His excuse was pathetic. Traffic. Dead phone. Emergency meeting. Lie after lie after lie. I simply stared at him. Then I looked down at our daughter. And I knew I would never trust him again. I knew our marriage was over. I knew I deserved better. Ryan stepped closer. I'm sorry. I shook my head. No. Emma, please. No. He looked confused. Maybe he expected another chance. Another forgiveness. Another excuse. Instead, I said quietly, You missed her birth. His face fell. You chose her. Silence. You chose your girlfriend over your wife and daughter. He couldn't deny it. Because it was true. Every word. Every painful word. I kissed my daughter's forehead. Then I looked directly at him. Leave. Emma. Leave. For once, he obeyed. And just like that, he walked out of the room. Out of our marriage. Out of the future we once planned together. The divorce took months. It was painful. Complicated. Exhausting. But I survived. More importantly, my daughter and I thrived. 3 years have passed since that day. My daughter, Lily, is now the brightest light in my life. She loves drawing. She loves dancing. She laughs with her entire heart. Every morning she runs into my room shouting, Mommy. And every morning I thank God for her. Sometimes people ask if I hate Ryan. The truth is complicated. For a long time I did. For a long time, I carried anger like a heavy stone. But eventually I realized something. My hatred was hurting me more than him. So I let it go. Not because he deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. Ryan lost far more than he understood. He lost a family. He lost trust. He lost the privilege of witnessing countless moments he can never get back. First smiles. First steps. First words. Meanwhile, I gained something unexpected. Strength. The woman who entered that hospital was broken. The woman who left was not. She was wounded. But she was stronger. Because sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the day you discover who you truly are. The day my daughter was born should have been remembered for joy. Instead, it became the day my marriage ended. But it also became the day my new life began. A life built not on promises, not on lies, not on someone else's choices, but on love. The pure, unconditional love between a mother and her child. And in the end, that love was enough to save me.